Welcome to Consortia Small Business Accountants How to Build a High Performance Small Business. This is session 7, Retain Customers and Increase Revenue. By way of introduction, this session introduces Consortia Small Business Accountants customer service or customer care process. The session addresses how you retain customers, increase customer revenue, and generate customer referrals. Once again, let me take a few minutes and remind you of the primary business processes. A high performance small business will have management overseeing the business processes of R&D, marketing and sales, production, finance, and now customer service. The primary business process workflow begins with research and development. What products and services are we going to offer our target market? Marketing, sales, production, finance, and customer service, as we'll address today. And once again, as a reminder, primary business process results. So the whole reason why we want to perform proper management is to gain a competitive edge. Same reason why we want to do R&D is to increase profit. Marketing to generate prospective clients. Sales to generate customers. Production to increase productivity. Finance to increase cash flow. And today we'll address customer service, how to retain customers, increase customer revenue, and increase customer referrals. So, as a reminder, when you look at the top problems small businesses have, it's these 7. Number 1, competition. 2, profitability. 3, prospective customers or the lack thereof, prospects. 4, customers. 5, productivity. 6, cash flow. And 7, as we'll talk about today, customer retention. Now, the reason for small business problems is because most freelancers, sole proprietors, and LLCs don't perform customer service or perform it effectively. There's basically 4 ways to generate, or I should say, increase your revenue. 1 is by generating new customers. 2 is by increasing your prices. 3, add new services or products, in other words, different revenue streams that complement your existing revenue streams and, of course, your target market. 4, increase product or service purchases from existing customers. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Of all of these all work, but the easiest one and typically the most productive one is number 4, increasing product or service purchases from existing customers, because that's what customer service is all about. So, customer service is interactions between a customer and a product or service provider at the time of sale and thereafter. Customer service adds value to a product or service and builds a relationship between the customer and the provider. Now, we address this in our marketing session, so I don't want to spend too much time here, but it's as applicable in customer service as it is in marketing. Both are all about building relationships. So, as far as the fundraising process used by nonprofit fundraisers, political fundraisers, religious fundraisers, etc., are as follows. Number 1, identify. They identify prospective donors who are most likely and able to donate. In other words, why would you waste your time on those who are most likely and not able to donate? 2, cultivate. They cultivate a relationship with the identified prospective donors. 3, solicit. They solicit donations from cultivated prospective donors. And again, as we talked about before, notice they don't ask for funds until the relationship takes place. And by the way, that's what marketing's all about. 4, stewardship. Express appreciation to the donors for their donations. And that's along the lines of what we're going to talk about today. So, for your information, the reason why nonprofits, the reason why they practice stewardship, yes, is because they have a moral obligation to those who give them contributions to accomplish their task. But on the other hand, if they don't practice stewardship, they won't be able to go back for more funds. So the purpose of stewardship is to raise additional funds from past donors. Now, as far as small business marketing and sales, if you use those fundraising methods, it's the same. So what they would call identify, we call target marketing. We identify prospective customers who are most likely and able to pay for your services and products. Two, they would call cultivate, and we call it marketing. Cultivate a relationship with identified prospective customers. Three, what they would call solicit, we would call sell. Solicit business or ask for the business from cultivated prospective customers. And four, what they would call stewardship, we call customer care. Express appreciation to customers for their business. So it's not just expressing appreciation, but it's the whole process of how we work with them from the time they purchase a product or service all the way through the remaining process. So customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is the degree of satisfaction provided by the services and products from a provider as measured by the number of repeat customers. So when you have a higher volume of repeat customers, you're doing something right because they're coming back because they're happy. They're happy with the service, they're happy with the product. So they always think of you first when it comes to that particular service or product. And so the idea then is we want to make happy customers because they come back. Customer loyalty. Customer loyalty is the likelihood of previous customers to continue to buy from a specific provider. Great attention is given to marketing, sales, and customer service to retain customers, increase revenue from existing customers, and obtain referrals from customers by increasing customer loyalty. And so, by going the extra mile and doing all these things associated with customer service, the whole idea is to do those three things: to retain the customers, to increase revenue from existing customers, and to obtain referrals from customers by increasing customer loyalty. So, if I had a room here and we were doing this live and I had 30 people in the room, if I said to them, "What do you sell?" most oftentimes they're going to tell me their product or their service. And yes, of course, that's correct. But what they have to understand is this: what you sell is an experience. The most important part of your selling strategy should incorporate the client's experience. The better the service, the more likely the customer is to become and remain a customer. Therefore, your marketing, sales, production, and finance processes are critical to the overall customer experience. So this feeds all into customer service. And although I said customer service begins at the sale and from that time forward, when we talk about it or look at it this way, it's from the very beginning. Okay. And so the marketing, the selling, the production, the financing process, as far as how we're paid, are all critical. So what we want to do is make sure that we look at the experiences that they're incurring and looking for ways to make that experience better, make them happy. That's the whole idea. Now, when you think about things that you're familiar with, for example, you may or may not shop at Nordstrom. But Nordstrom is a good experience. It's a higher end clothing store. And to the point being made is when you walk into that store, the first thing you'll notice is how beautifully well it's done. The furnishings, the people who work there, how they're dressed, how they're made up, that kind of thing, how they treat you. And you'll notice that oftentimes they have a grand piano with a grand pianist playing that piano. So they're creating a buying experience. They want you to have a wonderful experience when you come and shop in their stores. And that's what it's all about. So as far as the customer care process, yes, again, technically speaking, it's from sales all the way to payment. But here we're looking at When we want to make sure that our customers or our clients are happy and have a good experience, it begins with how we target market to them, how we research and develop our products and services, how we market to them, how we sell to them, how we produce for them, how we finance for them, meaning how they pay for our products and services. Customer care should have a voice in all of these things. When you have a person who's dedicated, or at least people who pay attention to customer care, they should be coming up with things to improve each step in your overall process. So, as far as customer care, then, what you might ask yourself is number one, what kind of experience do your contacts have when you market to them? What kind of experience do your prospects have when you sell to them? What kind of experience do your customers have when you deliver a product or provide a service to them? What kind of experience do your customers have when you collect payment? So obviously, we're wanting them to have a good experience, a great experience. And the better the experience, again, the more likely they are to express customer loyalty, remain customers, so on and so forth. Now, there was an Intuit Small Business Survey. Now, this pertains more to our organization as an accounting firm, but it applies to you as well. And let me explain. So, in this survey, of course, this is the makers of QuickBooks Online. In an Intuit Small Business Survey, 5% of small businesses surveyed were not satisfied, and 25% were somewhat satisfied with their accountants. This indicates a 30% vulnerability to customer turnover. If another accountant approaches them during this time of vulnerability, these customers are more likely to leave their accountants. So we try to take that at heart. The idea is that when we work with prospective customers or actual clients or whatever the case may be, we try to go the extra mile in all that we do to, again, make sure they have a pleasant experience, to make sure that they're happy. But this pertains to you as well. In other words, you want to make sure, because you also need to understand, depending on the products you provide or the services you provide, products you sell and services you provide, all depending on that, but nonetheless, the same thing applies. If they were not satisfied, if they were somewhat satisfied, they're not going to come back. And so you need to make sure that there is vulnerability. Now, on the other hand, from a marketing perspective, you need to look at it that some of your competitors don't perform as well as you do. And therefore, you have an opportunity to take those customers from your competition. So it's important that all of us are aware of that. Customer care representative. Now, I only say this because if I were speaking to a more higher performing small business, in other words, a more established, in other words, they're not in the startup phase, they're more in the emerging phase. They have better cash flow, better profitability, so on and so forth. At that point in time, I would actually have a dedicated full time, if not team, at least one person. But I understand that many of you can't afford that right off the bat, and yet customer service is so important. And so, what I would suggest is this: designate an employee as a customer service or a customer care representative. This person doesn't need to serve as a full time customer service representative, but they do need to be a full time employee available during business hours to serve as a customer service representative. So, at any time during the day, there was a prospective client or a customer that were unhappy, and therefore they need somebody to talk to, whether if it's through email, texting, phone, whatever the case may be, because it's extremely important that you do everything you can to reverse that and make them happy. Okay. It's just for the longevity of your business. And so, at the very least, this is what I would do. Somebody has to take the responsibility, and somebody who knows what they're doing and does it well. Now, to be quite honest with you, in my experience, and there's exceptions, but in my experience, it's typically older, more mature women. The customer reps that we have had have been when they're older, mature women. They've been mothers, they've been wives, they know how to deal with people, and I mean, it's just amazing how good they are, quite frankly. And so they can take care of matters quite well. Now, again, everybody or some, more than women can do that, but nonetheless, that's just my personal experience. And so the point being made is that if we have anybody disgruntled for anything, it immediately goes to that person and they take care of them and they do what it takes to make them happy. Okay, that's what's important. All right. So, customer satisfaction information. The customer care representative is responsible for leads, prospects, and customer dissatisfaction and satisfaction communications. So, in other words, whether if it's somebody who's not happy or somebody who is happy, that needs to be tracked, okay? And it needs to be dealt with and monitored, okay? Because it tells you something about your operations. So again, whether they're prospective leads, or, excuse me, whether they're leads or prospective customers, make sure you track dissatisfied and satisfied communications, both. So with a dissatisfied customer, again, you're going to do everything you can to make it right. Now, I perfectly understand that sometimes from your perspective, they're being far-fetched, they're expecting too much, and they're not owed. But I've learned through experience that it doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong, you've got to make them happy. And so you do what you reasonably can to make them happy. That is somebody who's dissatisfied. The fact that you went the extra mile alone usually changes their mind about you, okay, and your organization. Not always, but usually. But then, and so you want to learn from it. If it's a problem in the process, if there's a procedure or something that needs to be fixed, then you fix it. Okay. One of those typically is where they contact you and you don't get back with them for several days. And there was some glitch in your system to where that took place. And so obviously you want to fix that as soon as you can. Make sure that that is reduced or eliminated. On the other hand, when it comes to people who are satisfied, and you get those too, people just express their appreciation, thank you so much for that service, or thank you so much for that product, or I really enjoyed this, or whatever the case may be. You want to take advantage of that as well. So as I stated, track both, track lead, prospect, and customer dissatisfaction and satisfied customers or communications. And then you're going to do one of two things. When they're satisfied and they're elated that you've done a good job, whatever the case may be, number one, you would perform a 1 minute or a 1 to 5 question survey or evaluation with the lead, the prospect, and the customer. And by the way, this is with either one of them. In fact, to be honest with you, it'd be better for dissatisfied, you know, what else, what can we do? How can we improve this? Okay. But you also want to do with people who are satisfied as well. But where you spend most of your time as far as with people who are satisfied, you want to focus on reviews. When somebody expresses, they appreciate things, that you guys did a great job, whatever the case may be, you should have an automated process to where they're text, they're emailed, phone call, or whatever, asking them to leave a review, typically, for example, like a Google review. Now, for your information, even people who are satisfied and, in fact, elated of the work that you've done for them or the product you provided for them, even still, people are busy and they may or may not leave a review. We find that like 1 out of 3 who are very satisfied leave a review. So you may need to give them an incentive. And we've found, for example, like a gift card, a $20 gift card to, a dinner place, whatever the case may be, depending on what you do. And the idea then is that, of course, and by the way, you give it to them with the condition that you leave a review. And so you tell them, and again, by text, via, it should all be written down and this should be all automated. But the point is that you tell them, thank you so much for the satisfaction communication. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a Google review, as an added thank you, we'd like to send you a $20 gift card. In fact, there's gift cards you can get that they can designate to be used for anything, for that matter. But the point is that that typically assures you the Google review will be done. And the reason why is because you tell them, let us know when you've made the review, and then we'll send you the gift certificate. Okay. And we find that, at least 8 times out of 10, when you make an incentive like that to somebody who's happy, then they will go and leave a Google review. And those are important. Okay. So summarize then. So again, yes, you can always increase revenue by getting new clients, but you can generate as much, if not more, by focusing on keeping your clients and not losing that revenue stream, increasing customer revenue by cross-selling other products and services to them. And by the way, as you get to know them, what they're buying from you, so on and so forth, depending on who you are and what you do, it tells you pretty much what else they'd be interested in. Number 3, generate customer referrals. Now, I haven't said much about that, but that's another thing you do. And in fact, that should be tied into your gift card. And if you ever come across somebody, or if you're now aware of somebody who would be interested in our product or our service, please let us know. And once again, you can give them a gift card. And basically, if you every referral you give us, we'll send you depending on what your business is, $20, $50, whatever the case may be. And people will go the extra mile when they find an incentive like that. Okay, so this completes the 7 sessions of our video series, How to Build a High Performance Small Business. Hopefully it's been helpful. The idea was not to spend time with you with all this nitty-gritty step-by-step, so on and so forth, but just to overall give you an understanding of how high-performance businesses perform. And of course, high-performance businesses are the most profitable businesses that you can find. Okay, and that's the reason why I feel it's important to share these things with you. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, if you like something, you didn't like something, we'd be happy to hear from you. Just shoot us a text, shoot us an email, however you communicate with us, and just let us know. If we can improve this presentation, if there's something you disagreed with, that's fine. Let us know. We'd be happy to learn. Anyway, thank you so much for attending. Have a wonderful day.